Hello guys, this is Mike from McProgramming.org. We're going to get into somewhat of a difficult process to set up your computer for Laravel. And the reason I'm saying difficult is because I used to watch the tutorials that people would make, and it never quite worked out for me when I was trying to make them. I don't know if I wasn't following them right. I'm pretty sure I was, but I'm going to try to make this as easy for you to get as possible. And since I'm using a Mac, that's what I'm going to be using. And if you're using Windows, I suggest that you download Git Bash, Gitbash. And those are obviously two different words, but that'll give you a Unix-like command line that we can run these codes, because all of these codes are used for Unix machines, such as the Mac OS X or Linux. The Windows command line isn't that easy to use, and these commands don't work very well in it. So let's get started. To get Homestead, well, first off, let's talk about what Laravel Homestead is. So what it is it's a Vagrant box, and Vagrant runs as a virtual machine. And the box comes packaged with all of these software that's used to power Laravel. And it's everything that we need, from Ubuntu as the server, PHP 5.6, a hip-hop virtual machine, Nginx server, MySQL, Postgres, Node, Redis, Memcached, Beanstalk, Laravel Envoy, and Blackfire Profiler. So go to virtualbox.org, and downloading this is very straightforward. Just go to your operating system and download it. I already have it downloaded, so I'm not going to worry about it, but the installation will put it where it needs to be. And then we're going to go over to vagrantup.com and download this as well. Go to download and find your operating system, and this will do the same thing, so just follow the instructions when downloading. Alright, let's get rid of those and go back to Laravel, and notice that all you have to do, if you're lost on where this is, just go to laravel.com, documentation, and over here on setup, go to Homestead. So let's go down to the installation and setup, and it has a whole list of what you need to get started. So we have VirtualBox or VMware. I prefer VirtualBox, and that's what I'm going to be showing you how to use, and Vagrant. And like I said, Laravel Homestead is a Vagrant box, and that's what we're going to install so we can run this Vagrant box on our virtual machine. And what that means is we're going to have Laravel running, and it's going to sync up to our computer, so the files we write on our computer will sync up to this virtual machine and run at the end of this video when I show you the opening Laravel 5 homepage once we open up the browser with our Homestead installation. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to say Vagrant box, add Laravel Homestead, copy that, and put it in your terminal. And I am going to go to our main directory, or home directory, I'm sorry, Vagrant box add. I could hit 1, but I'm not going to do any of this because if you notice, I already have it. So I could force it if I wanted to, but I don't. I don't want to mess up my system, so I'm just going to clear everything out. So now that we have VirtualBox and Vagrant, what we're going to want to do is set up a directory somewhere on your computer that we can put our Homestead directory. The place that I put it is just in a www folder right off of my user folder. So I'm going to cd into that real quick. And if you want to see the directory structure, this is where it is: users, Mike, www. So inside of my www folder, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to copy this git clone for Homestead, copy it, come back over to my terminal, paste that in, and I'm going to run it. And it's going to create a Homestead folder. And now what I'm going to do is look inside of here, and I have my Homestead folder. I also created a folder called Sites, and that is where I'm going to hold all of my websites that I create. But inside of Homestead, what we can do is we can cd into there real quick and take a look. We have a Vagrant file, we have a composer.json, and we have a bunch of other things. Notice this init.sh. So we're going to go back here. It says once you have cloned the Homestead repository, run bash init.sh command from the Homestead directory, and it's going to create a homestead.yaml file, which is the file where we're going to do all of the mapping of the files on our computer to the Laravel Homestead box. So what we're going to do now is we're going to copy this command, copy it, go back to our terminal, and inside of our Homestead directory, we're going to run that command. Alright, and after that's done, it should create a .homestead directory in your users directory. So let's go back to my home directory, and I'm going to cd in to .homestead and take a look. And we have homestead.yaml. That's the file we're going to want to edit. So let's edit that file real quick. I'm going to open it with Sublime. Homestead.yaml, and this is not a general command. I set up an alias. If you want to just edit this from the command line, you can. And notice right here we have the IP address that they suggest you use. I use a different one. We have a VirtualBox as our provider, and right here we have keys. We have our SSH keys, and these are important because this is what we're going to need to SSH into our Vagrant box to be able to run PHP artisan commands or deal with the database or any other things that we need to mess with the site. So we want to go back to our laravel.com, and we want to generate these SSH keys. So run this command right here and put your email address. You will get your SSH keys automatically generated and put in the correct spot. If you don't have Mac OS X, like I said, get the git bash shell and you'll be able to do the same exact thing. So let's go back here, and we're going to configure our homestead.yaml file to map it to the files on our system so we can preview it in the browser. So let's go back, and you can see I already have a bunch of sites set up. But we're going to go back to where our homestead is, and that is in our www. We have homestead and sites. So make sure you create some type of folder that holds your websites, and I just called it sites because that's what I called it. You can call it whatever you want. Let's cd into sites real quick. And notice I have a bunch of sites I've worked on. All Pro Painting Backup, All Pro Painting, Learn Laravel, McProgramming. Anything that I've created for my homestead, I have in here. So let's clear that out and go back to our homestead.yaml file. And let's create our domain that we're going to be using for this project. So this folder right here, we're going to map from our home directory, www sites, and that's going to map to the home Vagrant sites. So make sure these two match up, and then inside of sites we're going to go down into here and we're going to make a new one. We're going to say map, and we're going to give it the URL that we want to use, and I'm just going to say laravel5.dev, and I want to map that to home Vagrant, whatever you called that, which is right here, sites, and then whatever you're going to call your Laravel project. I'm going to call it Laravel 5, so Laravel 5, and then because Laravel, you have to run it from the public folder as its root folder, we're going to say /public. So save that file out, and now what we want to do is we want to see if laravel5.dev works. But first we need to start up Vagrant. So let's go to our command line, and we need to go into the Homestead directory. So let's go back and go into Homestead, and from here we want to say Vagrant up. And this should start our Vagrant box. Notice the forwarding ports, port 80, which is HTTP, goes to 8000. Our MySQL port goes to 33060. Alright, so we have this set up. Let's clear this out. So now that Vagrant is up and running, we need to map our laravel5.dev to a IP address. So we need to go to our home directory, and then we're going to, well, let's do sudo vi etc hosts. and then put in your password because you need root access to be able to get in here. And from here, we're going to add in 127.0.0.1 and map that to Laravel 5.dev. We're going to save this. Alright, clear that out. And we need to go back to our Homestead directory. So change directory www, Homestead, and we want to say vagrant provision, because right now the IP address, which is our localhost IP address, is not mapped to Laravel 5.dev. So let's do that real quick. Vagrant provision, run that. This may take just a second. Cool, so this ran. Now what we want to do is we want to see if we have PHP artisan tools. Now we want to come over here and make sure that we can use Composer to globally require in a Laravel installer. So we're going to copy this and we're going to run that in our terminal wherever we want and run that. And from that point on, we will be able to install Laravel projects just by saying Laravel new in the project name. So let's go back to our sites folder, and inside of here I'm going to add Laravel 5 project. So I'm going to say Laravel new Laravel 5. Run that. Alright, and now we have our project built. So let's go and see if this is going to work. We may need to re-provision our Vagrant box, but let's go and check this out. And I'm going to keep this up here so we can see how ugly that URL is and see how clean this is going to be. So let's go to Laravel 5.dev, and remember when I showed you that port 80 has been mapped to port 8000. So after Laravel 5.dev, we want to put :8000. Press enter, and notice we have a new installation of Laravel on Laravel 5.dev. So this is a very clean URL that we can work with now, and we have a Vagrant box that has all the tools that we need to be able to successfully run a Laravel application.